Hi everyone, I'm Debbie Briggs and I want to invite you to the series Hymns of Worship. And I also want to invite you into my home and give you some insight into this incredible song, Graves into Gardens by Brandon Lake, how it was birthed and what we can learn from it. But here's a little fun fact. About once a month, I buy a bouquet of flowers, $6.99 or less. I make sure I do $6.99 or less from Trader Joe's to fill the vase that you see behind me. Sometimes it's just baby's breath, but today I have this bouquet of flowers because when I walked into Trader Joe's yesterday, you know, the flowers greet you as you enter, and I looked at the flowers and I saw these flowers and I thought of Graves into Gardens. So here we are, and I want to ask you a question. What if you lived your life each day as if it were your last? You've heard that question, I'm sure, but let's take it up a step. What if you lived your life believing and living that nothing is better than you? Jesus, nothing is better than you. Well, in the song, Graves into Gardens, Brandon Lake sings that phrase over and over again. There's nothing better than you. Nothing is better than you. Well, I want to tell you about two old men today and why Graves into Gardens resonates with so many. Those two things. So it evidently does resonate with a lot of people because it's won multiple awards, including the Dove Award for Song of the Year for Worship Recordings. And also the Spanish version, it also won a Dove Award, Tumbas a Jardines. Well, the two old men that I want to talk about are Elisha, the prophet, and my 95-and-a-half-year-old father-in-law. Let's start with my father-in-law. Well, I met Dad Briggs, not Dad Briggs then, because my husband and I were dating and we're freshmen in college. And I remember thinking after I met him, whoa, this guy, he's amazing. Well, he was a successful businessman, married to a mom. They were raising 4 kids, and the oldest was out of the house. That was my buddy at the time, who later became my husband. But this is what captured me. It wasn't all those details about him. It was literally how he looked at his day. He would begin his day and he would just throughout the day say, "What a great day," you know, followed by some variation of, "What does the Lord have for us today? What does God have for us today?" Well, that was years and years ago. Fast forward, and guess how he begins his day today, or these days? He jumps out of bed. No, stop. He doesn't jump out of bed these days. But he gets out of bed and he does this clasping of the hands sort of thing. What a great day. And again, some sort of variation of, what does God have for us today? Well, speaking of jumping, Dad jumped out of an airplane for his 90th birthday, and when the newsman asked him how he felt after his feet landed on the ground, he said, "I want to do it again." Pretty sure if you Google Ivan Briggs 90-year-old airplane, you'll still get that clip on YouTube. Well, a few months ago, he walked into Chick-fil-A. He saw a sign that they were hiring dining hosts. He went to the manager and he said, "This really suits me. I mean, what do I have to do to apply for this position?" I am guessing that Dad is the oldest employee of Chick-fil-A. I don't know for sure, but he's really good at being that dining room host. He radiates Christ to believers, non-believers. Everybody loves him. Listen to this quote by Charles Spurgeon. "Let us seek to live so that even ungodly men may miss us when we are gone." Let me clarify something. Dad is neither perfect nor is he a prophet. Which brings me to Elisha, because Elisha was a prophet. He was not perfect, but what a man. He lived his life to say, nothing is better than you. God, nothing is better than you. And if you read about the kings of Israel, you know that there were so many ungodly kings. There were godly kings. And there were also those kings that conveniently sought out the advice of the prophets they'd go to Elisha especially, and they'd say to him, I'm just in a mess right now. And that's when they would go to him. But like Charles Spurgeon's quote, let us seek to live so that even the ungodly men miss us when we are gone. Elisha was one of those men. So here's the question. Why should we care about a person or something that happened generations ago? And the answer is Elisha wanted to live a legacy that would motivate the generations after him to get up each morning and say, nothing is better than you. Months before the pandemic, and not many months before the pandemic, Brandon Lake was inspired by a sermon from his pastor, Stephen Furtick. And so the birth of a song that is inspiring to so many, written by those two men and by Chris Brown and Tiffany Hammer. The text is taken from 2 Kings 13, 20 through 21. And this is what it reads. Elisha died and was buried. Now Moabite raiders used to enter the country every spring. Once, while some Israelites were burying a man, suddenly they saw a band of raiders. So they threw the man's body into Elisha's tomb. And when the body touched Elisha's bones, the man came to life and stood on his feet. Whoa, just picture that. Okay, these raiders are coming. Guys are burying this man. They say, the raiders are coming. Where do we put this body? And they just throw it in the nearest tomb, which happened to be Elisha's. What an incredible story. I'd love to see the rest of the story, and my blog post explains the text in more detail. But here's the thing. The message is that a life lived for generations forward is not just a heap of bones. If you look at the life of Elisha more carefully, you can better know the decomposed heart of the man whose bones remained. Intentionally lived lives turn graves into gardens, but only if we believe to the core that nothing is better than you. Nothing is better than you. Elisha's bones live on, and he leaves a legacy. And so can we. One of my favorite verses in the Bible is Psalms 89:1. I will sing of the Lord's great love forever. With my mouth I will make your faithfulness known through all generations. Listen to these words from Graves into Gardens. You turn graves into gardens. You turn bones into armies. You turn seas into highways. You're the only one who can. You're the only one who can. Friends, we have a choice. Not to leave this earth someday as a heap of bones. What if, just what if, we start each day with nothing is better than you. Nothing is better than you. Gift yourself right now and listen to the song Graves into Gardens.